tonight we'll also welcome Dr. Keisha Benson from the school board. She's a school board candidate. She may not be here with us, but we're going to welcome her amongst us tonight. And I want to call up Deacon Peter Andre from the home parish Holy Family to lead us in our opening prayer. And as always, I want you to remember that we are a diverse congregation from all different faiths. And we encourage everyone to speak and pray from their own traditions. Amen? Amen. And so now I present to you Deacon Peter Andre from Holy Family Catholic Church. Thank you, Deacon.
Good evening and welcome to Holy Family. It is an honor to have you back here. We have a long tradition with FAST, and many of you have been here before. A couple of housekeeping notes before we begin. There are restrooms out in the back, straight in back here. The men's is on the left, the women's is on the right. Over here there's a men's room. Over there there's a ladies' room. The ushers tonight are in blue shirts. So ushers, if you'll kind of stand and raise your hand. If you need anything, these folks will help you out. Yeah, they're busy. Let us begin with prayer. Almighty and eternal God, may your grace enkindle in all persons a love of the many unfortunate people whom poverty and misery reduce to a condition of life unworthy of those of us created in God's image and likeness. Arouse in the hearts of those who call you Father a hunger and thirst for social justice and for fraternal charity in deeds and in truth. Grant, O Lord, peace in our days, peace to souls, peace to our community, and peace among nations. Amen. Amen.
Thank you, Deacon Peter. My name is Ben Atherton Zeman. I'm from the Unitarian Universalist Church of St. Petersburg. I'm just so happy to see you all. You look fantastic. Thanks for being here. Let's start off by seeing who is in the room. So when I call your congregation's name, make some noise. Again, according to your faith tradition, shout amen. If that's not your thing, say woohoo. If that's not your thing, go any kind of noise is fine. So who's here tonight? Shiloh Missionary Baptist in the house. That's what I mean. Thank you for going first. Bethel Community Baptist in the house. Fantastic. Unitarian Universalist of Clearwater. St. Cecilia Catholic. First Baptist Church of St. Petersburg. Yes. Good Samaritan Church in Pinellas Park. Lakeview Presbyterian. Oakhurst United Methodist. East Lake United Methodist.
to see you all. Blessings.
Thank you, Pastor Ben. My name is Pastor Oscar Banks. I'm the lead pastor of Palm Lake Christian Church, where I get to serve that beautiful community of Jesus Christ right here in sunny St. Pete. And today I get to share with you why we are here. At the rally and the Nehemiah Action, we talked about how in Pinellas County we live in a tale of two counties. While our beautiful county is attracting newcomers from all over the world, our own residents are faced with difficult injustices. New luxury condos are being built daily, while more than 60,000 families are one paycheck away from homelessness. Tourists, they flock to our beaches while development is running rampant, creating more pollution running straight into our waterways, making red tide unbearable. Our safe drivers who don't even know that their license is suspended, they end up with a criminal record because of unpaid fees and fines. This is a tale of two counties, and it has shown us that there are two competing cultures in our society. The dominant culture on one hand, and the culture of justice on the other. In the dominant culture, there's never enough. Officials tell us there's not enough money. There aren't enough developers to create affordable housing. There isn't enough time or resources to fix the problems of injustice in our community. Yet, when they want to build their new pier or sports venue or one of their pet projects, somehow there's enough. In the culture of justice, we know that God provides abundance, watch this, for all. In the dominant culture, we're told that people with arrest records are criminals and that they deserved it, making it easy to fear our neighbors because they are now considered dangerous. But in the culture of justice, everyone is treated justly. Everyone is loved and accepted. And making a non-violent mistake does not make you dangerous. We're told that the world is getting worse and there's nothing we can do. They want us to lose faith in the promise of humanity. But the culture of justice provides hope for a better tomorrow and a brighter future. Unfortunately, the midst of scarcity, fear, and despair govern our society, and not the story of hope, the promises and abundance. And because of this, society teaches us that there is nothing more for you and I to do other than to get as much as we can for ourselves and our families, and to only look out for those in our circle. Growing up, my pastor back home, he used to say, we're taught to look out for me, my three, us four, and no more. We're told to we're told to put our heads down and work as hard as we can and just try to pay our bills and survive. In my faith tradition, social teaching helps us understand that how we organize our society impacts human dignity and our ability to grow in community. See, it teaches us that we have a right and a duty, somebody say a duty, to participate in creating a society that includes and works for the good of all. And that's why we act, to challenge our officials to enact our vision. Somebody say our vision. Our vision. For a culture of justice, because we know that power in the dominant culture comes from organized money. But in the culture of justice, that power We can see our county starting to look more and more like a culture of justice, more and more like the Promised Land. And we're all a part of that powerful miracle of transforming our community, even though the dominant culture will do everything in its power to suppress our power. But we need to keep going until the transformative work is done. And as we move into the investment drive phase of our ministry and towards the Joshua Assembly, which is where we are, let me hear you say, yeah! Yeah! Say, yeah! Yeah! All right, we're supposed to be celebrating. Get hype. It's very tempting to allow the dominant culture's beliefs and their culture of scarcity to creep into our minds. That myth of scarcity that our people can't afford to invest. Or the myth of fear. If I ask someone for money, they might say no or be offended. Or the myth of despair. We can't do it. But we can't let those myths trick us. The investment drive is an opportunity for us to have meaningful conversations with our network members about what this means to them. It's a time when we get to focus on what return we get on our investment of time, talent, and treasure. The investment drive is not just about money. It's about helping our network members see how important they are to this work and how much our community, our congregations, and our lives are changed by our work together. This year, I'm going to up my investment from $200 to $300 in this justice ministry. See, I believe in the transformative power of our investment drive because it shows ownership and commitment to this mighty work. We have all been entrusted with this work, and it represents the people power that inspires others to believe that they have the power to change their world. When we own this ministry, we are one step closer to owning the new narrative in Pinellas County. How do we stand? How do we stand? How do we stand?
Years ago, we started hearing stories from families whose children had been arrested for small mistakes. We heard about a child with autism who was arrested for hugging someone who didn't want to be hugged in Lawton. Because of that arrest, he has struggled to get jobs beyond washing dishes. We heard about a boy in South St. Petersburg who couldn't enter the Navy when they found out that he was arrested as a child for setting off firecrackers in Lake Vista Park. We heard about these arrests, and we said no. No child deserved to be branded for life with a arrest record for a simple mistake. We did research and we found a better way. We found that our county already had a civil sanitation program. Civil sanitation gives children sanctions for minor, non-violent behavior without giving them criminal records. But not all children were eligible for the program. Who was eligible for the program was getting access to the program. We found that the county already had the program in place, and we got law enforcement throughout Pinellas County to change policy to ensure that all children in our county get access to civil sanitation. When we started, around 60% of the eligible children were getting access to the civil sanitation. Now that percentage is nearly 100%. Some
We joined with our 9 other sister organizations throughout the state to take action. We worked for 5 years on a bill that would make juvenile civil citations mandatory throughout the state. For 5 years, we sent our members to Tallahassee, we wrote postcards to our legislators, and we had them in our Nehemiah actions and asked them to support this bill. After 5 years, our work paid off. On the last day of the legislative session in 2018, the bill passed, and on Good Friday, the governor signed it into law. Since we started this work in 2013, 41,000 fewer children have been arrested. That's 41,000 children who have been given a second chance instead of being branded for life with an arrest record for a minor mistake. 41,000 lives were changed. Who did that? We did. I am investing $1,100 in our work because I know firsthand how it changes lives for the better. I'm a volunteer guardian ad litem for children in the dependency care system. One of the children I care for was caught with marijuana at school. Because of our work, this child was not arrested, but given a pre-arrest diversion. Now this child with a tragic history of abuse is given a second chance.
Because FAST gives us the best opportunity to fulfill God's requirement to do justice, my wife and I are investing $1,000 and maybe $1,100 if don't want, let me have another $100. How do we stand?
I'd like to give you an update on our behavioral health campaign. Last year at our annual assembly, we celebrated our story of courage, faith, and of overcoming the impossible. Since 2018, we've been fighting for easy access for mental health and addiction treatment. We were moved to act by stories of loved ones being Baker-acted more times than we could count, or of people landing in a jail cell or worse, in the morgue instead of in a treatment center. The human cost of this deadly system was huge. According to the CDC, in Pinellas County last year, 1 person died every 16 hours from a drug-related overdose. We couldn't stand for it, and that's why in 2019, we asked our county and our stakeholders to create a plan for a central pathway that would make it easy for anyone to get the help they needed. That was a huge goal, but each year we would get one step closer. At our action in 2021, we celebrated the fact that providers and funders had followed through on their commitment to create the beginnings of a central pathway, which they call the Wellness Connection. Many of you are still calling that phone number to connect your loved ones with the help they urgently need. But that isn't enough, and we knew that. We needed something to connect all the providers in Pinellas County. Last June, the County Commission finally approved funding for a county-wide central pathway with $1 million. And our county administrator, Barry Burton, committed in a meeting with us that he would personally make sure that the county creates one central pathway. That was a huge victory. So at the annual assembly last year, we made the decision to monitor the county's next steps and make sure their commitment becomes a reality. For the central pathway to get up and running, someone has to run it. And that's why the county opened up a process for institutions to submit applications to be in charge of running the central pathway. We took a look at the application when it was sent out, and we were pleased with how comprehensive it was. I can share with you tonight that one company called Unite Us has applied to run the central pathway. Right now, the county is in a careful process of vetting that company to ensure that they're a good fit to manage the pathway. We're in contact with the county as this process moves forward, and we we will continue to update you on all developments. We are so close to seeing this central pathway up and running. We expect to see it by the end of this year. Now, let me ask you a question. Yeah, that's where it applies. But let me ask you a question. Who made that happen? We did. We still have more work to do on this. The county has to approve the company to run the pathway, and then we have to make sure it actually functions once it's up and running. We'll keep working on this until we see tangible fruit of our efforts. I personally have friends who have been impacted by mental health crises, and I've shared their stories with you in the past. Being part of this work has impacted me because being in FAST, I can live out my faith and I can serve the community. These are some of the reasons that this year I'm investing $1,000 in our work. Together, we make a difference. How do we stand?
Good evening. I'm here to give the jobs report. And way back in 2009, at a House meeting, we heard from folks who were struggling to find jobs. The economy had crashed, a lot of people had lost their jobs, and they couldn't find new ones. Those who had arrest records were hit even harder. While it was difficult to find a job with an arrest record during a good economy, after the crash, it made it nearly impossible. We voted on jobs that year and started our research. In other states, committees had passed disadvantaged workers' ordinances requiring that a certain percentage of work hours for city construction contracts would go to those with arrest records or to those who had been on public assistance for the last year. So in 2010, we started pushing for the city of St. Petersburg to pass a disadvantaged workers ordinance. We were met with a lot of opposition. We were told that if the city passed this ordinance, no construction companies would apply to do any of the construction work. Lobbyists for construction companies came to city council meetings and threatened that they wouldn't do business with the city if the ordinance was passed. But we kept pushing. And after 5 long years, we finally got the city to pass the disadvantaged hiring ordinance. This was in 2015. We met with the city staff who oversee that ordinance last December. And we're thrilled to announce that since that ordinance was passed, disadvantaged workers have worked over 79,000 hours and made over $608,000 in wages because of our hard work. The ordinance originally applied to city contracts over $2 million, but it was so effective that they expanded the ordinance, and now all contracts over $1 million must include disadvantaged workers. On top of that, the ordinance was so successful that since then the city of Gainesville has followed suit and has passed their own ordinance, and the city of Tampa is in the process of doing the same thing. Yes, our work has helped not only hundreds of people in our own community get jobs, but it's even blazing a path for other communities to do the same. Who made this happen? We made this happen. I'm so proud to be a member of FAST because I know that we bring people hope. We bring hope to those that are marginalized. We bring hope to those that were seeking a path for mental health help. We've brought help to mothers for pre-K, all-day pre-K classes. And I know this does our whole community a world of good. For this reason, I'm donating $1,000 this year for FAST.
Some victories we've won in the past. There's so much to celebrate, amen? Each of these victories happened because we stood up at Nehemiah Action, sometimes year after year after year after year, and asked our public officials to implement solutions to these problems. So let's talk about what happened in our Nehemiah Action this year. The first thing to celebrate is that we had an action. We had our first in-person action since 2019. And after 2 years of our world being turned upside down by the pandemic, we brought together nearly 1,100 people for our Nehemiah Action. Back in January, we didn't even know if we could have an in-person action because of the COVID numbers. Many of our congregation members hadn't come to anything in person, maybe not even a worship service in years. But we knew that our community needed us to do justice, so we called our neighbors and friends and carpooled and loaded up those buses, and we brought together over 1,100 people to make our community a better place. Who did that? We did.
So what did we win? One problem we were trying to solve is poor water quality, which exacerbates red tide, leads to things like respiratory problems and the huge marine life die-off as we saw last summer. We also know that more development is going to mean more runoff, which means more pollution in the bay. The Tampa Bay area is projected to grow by 3 million people over the next 10 years. To make sure our waterways stay clean, we're going to need to improve our water infrastructure. So we asked our public officials questions around impact fees. These fees would be charged to new development to help pay for improved water infrastructure. From St. Petersburg, Councilmember Floyd agreed to support a policy for impact fees for water infrastructure. Clearwater Councilmember Kathleen Beckman agreed to meet with us to discuss impact fees for Clearwater. The biggest surprise on this issue was Commissioner Justice saying no. Both he and Mayor Welch told us in pre-meetings that they were supportive of the idea of impact fees. So we were shocked. He started talking about the new water fee. But the water fee that he was talking about is a fee that residents have to pay on their utility bill. Overall, we got some good commitments to start our campaign for improved water quality. And now we will have to follow up with those cities and counties to make it a reality.
We also tackled the problem of affordable housing. During this part of the night, we got a yes from Commissioner Justice. He agreed to continue to monitor the Penny for Pinellas funds to make sure a majority are spent on families making $59,000 or less. Now, this may not seem like a big deal, but it is really important since we're talking about making sure $82 million over 10 years is spent correctly. Over the last year, over 1,000 units have been completed or are under construction with the Penny for Pinellas housing funds. Now, with Commissioner Justice's commitment, we'll make sure that these continue to go for families who need it the most. Also for housing, St. Pete City Council member Richie Floyd agreed to support a goal of 5,000 units of housing for families making $59,000 or less over the next 4 years. Not only that, he said he'd like to see more than 5,000 units over the next 4 years. This goal would take a huge dent out of the housing crisis in St. Petersburg. So now it's up to us to get the mayor and the rest of the city council to buy into this goal as well. As you all know, Mayor Welch wasn't at the action. I'm sure you've noticed he's not here tonight either. We invited him to tonight's assembly, but we've recently learned there's a lapse in him receiving our request. However, one of our clergy is on the mayor's schedule this week for a phone call. We hope to schedule an in-person meeting where Mayor Welch can publicly make a commitment regarding affordable housing. Now, when we have this meeting, we want as many of you as there as possible to make sure that Mayor Welch sees just how important it is that he takes bold leadership on the affordable housing crisis. We will publicize the meeting to you all when it is set.
Finally, let's talk about criminal justice. I think we can all agree criminal justice was a mixed bag, and we asked two questions at the action. First, do the officials agree that some driving-related offenses should get diversion? And second, would they work together to give those offenses diversion? All three of the officials who were there that night had told us in previous meetings that there were some driving-related offenses that they believe should be eligible for diversion. So we were expecting yes answers on the first question. We were completely thrown off when all of them answered no. We were also thrown off when Chief Holloway and Ken Burke answered yes to the second question because, to be perfectly honest, this doesn't make a lot of sense. They said no, they didn't think driving-related offenses should get diversion, but yes, they will work together to give driving-related offenses diversion. So we weren't quite sure what to make of this in the moment. But at the end of the day, we were going to hold them to those commitments that were made. I know there was some tension with Chief Slaughter of Clearwater. He mentioned that he felt he wasn't treated the same as the other two public officials that came before him. We had 2 minutes for each interaction with each public official, and he answered no to the first question, and we had some conversation around his answer. By the time he said no to the second question, we were out of time, so we moved on. When we realized he felt slighted by that, we brought him back on stage to explain his answer. Some of us might have felt uncomfortable during this interaction. That's okay. It's normal to feel uncomfortable when there is tension. What we need to keep in mind is that the discomfort that public officials feel when they are asked to give clear answers pales in comparison to the discomfort our community members feel when they're branded for life with arrest records. When someone gets an arrest record for driving on a license they didn't even know was suspended, that one simple mistake can impact the rest of their lives. If someone can't pay a fee or fine, that their license gets suspended, they still have to get to work to pay off those fines and fees. And on the way to work, they might get arrested, sending them further and further on a downward spiral where they are trapped. In our county, in a 6-month period last year, 1,500 people got arrested on first-time misdemeanors of driving on suspended licenses. We're talking about thousands of families who are impacted every year. As we said at the action, criminalizing poverty must stop. The same night as our action, our sister organization in Tampa had their action. And guess what? Their police again, criminalizing poverty must stop. We won't stop until people who get arrested for driving on licenses that are suspended for non-driving related reasons get access to diversion. At the end of June, we'll be delivering all of the postcards we receive to the sheriff. Between now and then, all of us should work on getting more folks to sign those postcards. There's some in the lobby tonight that you can pick up. And please be on the lookout for info on when we're going to deliver them so that you can join us. We made a lot of progress at the action. We're not quite where we want to be, but we've been here before. Even our past victories we talked about tonight didn't happen overnight. They took a lot of hard work building our people power and a lot of follow-up. But who made that happen? Who did that? We did that. And I am claiming tonight that next year at our Joshua Assembly, we'll have more victories to celebrate. Next year we'll be saying, do you remember last year when we were disappointed when we didn't get all yeses at the action? But we didn't give up, and we kept fighting, and we won. We know our victories are on the way. God is working in our community. God is doing that work through us. Let's keep the good work. How do we stand?
I'm here to tell you why I invest. My name is Flo Young, and I'm from Bethel Community Baptist Church. I have been part of FAST for 18 years now. A long time ago, back in 2006, we worked on the voluntary pre-K program. Back then, the state provided 3 hours of daycare for VPK children. But that was not enough for parents who had to work a full day. So we made a demand on the Early Learning Coalition to fund another 3 hours of VPK for low-income children so that they would have a full day instead. This was one of the very first victories we won. And since then, over 15,000 children have benefited from this full day of VPK. Over 15,000 children. I worked on this issue committee over a decade ago. At this time, I didn't have any children or grandchildren who needed VPK. I just knew that it was the right thing to do. Years later, my own grandchildren were able to benefit from the VPK, the very services that was expanded. It was a powerful experience for me to know that my work years ago, which I did without knowing if I would even personally benefit, ended up helping my own family. Our work shows tangible results, helping families in our community. Because of affordable housing work, 2 families in my congregation now got apartment at the Skyway Lofts building in South St. Petersburg. This affordable housing complex was built with penny for Pinellas. The funds that we got the county and the city to set aside, we got that fund. This work is important to me because I know it's changing lives. I am living out God's work that He has given me to do. I am working for justice. This is why this year I'm investing $800 in our work. Now, I'm not able to pay the whole $800 at one time, so I'm making investment in installments. And tonight,
last year, and I immediately wanted to be part of this diverse organization that works for the common good of all. When Father Curtis told me, this is a group that gets things done, I was in. I'm a single woman and a caregiver to my adult daughter who was born with special needs, so I don't have unlimited resources. But I believe in the fact that our efforts are independently funded, which protects us from outside influence, and I'm willing to invest $200 each year to keep it that way. It's important for all of us to invest whatever we can in FAST to make our communities safer and more equitable for all the citizens of Pinellas County, and to ensure that our leaders hear our priorities and keep their promises.
Member at Eastland Church. I was introduced to FAST by my neighbor, Reverend Lois Rogers Watson, when I moved to Florida 3 years ago. FAST has been a great way for me to learn about my new community and really become a part of it. God instructs us to love our neighbor as ourselves. By investing, I am not only living out what God has called me to do, but I am investing into an organization that is helping my neighbors and community. I firmly believe a way for me to love my diverse range of neighbors all over Pinellas County, regardless of their age, religion, and income, etc., is to support FAST initiatives to change unjust social and public policies. This year, I have invested $1,500 in the work of FAST. I am thankful every day for the resources God has gifted me, and I'm thankful for all of you involved with the good work of FAST.
Good evening. Good evening. We are your co-chairs. I am Father Brown of Pastor St. Joseph.
And I'm Rabbi Josh Goldell, Temple B'nai Israel, Midway. It's important that you know who's who. Individuals who were there. Shalom, everybody. Shalom. That's pretty good. One more time. Shalom, everybody. Shalom. Excellent. Maybe a little more Hebrew. This is the day that God has made. Let us rejoice and be glad. What an inspiring night this has been. We have spoken about our past victories and called to mind the great work still to be done. But one lingering question has yet been unanswered. Why? Oh, why is this called the Joshua Assembly? We've heard a lot of amazing things, but no one's mentioned Joshua yet. Well, allow me to shed a little light on that matter. In the Hebrew Scriptures, the story of Joshua comes not long after the Exodus story. The Israelites escaped from Pharaoh, they crossed the Red Sea on dry ground, and persevered through 40 years of wandering in the wilderness, with Moses leading the way. But when Moses passes away, the people need a new leader. Onto the stage comes Joshua. You all pass by and Joshua becomes the newly appointed leader, the one who leads them to the promised land. In Joshua chapter 3, God will lead Joshua to the edge of this land. The Israelites can see the fruitful valley of the promised land across the Jordan River. Joshua is preparing God's people to cross the flood-swollen waters of the Jordan to finish the final leg of the journey towards their new home. This moment in the story of Joshua represents an in-between time, a moment of holy anticipation. The Israelites have waited decades and traveled miles upon miles. They see how far they have come, but at the same time, they are not quite finished yet. They can see the promised land. They can see a vision of what's to come, but they have not yet achieved their goal.
We've named this event Joshua Assembly, because we feel this same tension and holy anticipation. We see how far we have come over the last 3 years. We went from having no money committed to affordable housing to having nearly $100 million. We have seen that there are over 41,000 children across the state of Florida get access to second chances because of our work. We have seen restorative practices get implemented in our schools and give teachers and students the tools they need for safe classroom environments because of our work. We have seen mental health providers work together to create wellness connections and bring hope to people struggling with addictions and mental illness all across the county. Like the Israelites, we know how far we've come to get to this point. We know that all that God has done in and through us. Yet at the same time, we know we are still not at the promised land. We have a vision of it, but we can't yet see it. But it's not quite here. In our vision, all families have a safe, affordable housing place to live. And all money for affordable housing is spent on those who need it the most. We have a vision for what it could look like if poverty was no longer criminalized, if people who commit minor mistakes are given help and support they need to get back on track instead of branding them for life with arrest records. We envision development that people are pushed out of homes they know and love. In our communities, instead of running so rampant that people are pushed out of their homes, we see clean water at our shores instead of dead fish and wildlife. We see this vision so clearly, yet we cannot quite hear it.
As siblings in faith, tonight we are each called to live into that vision. We use the word invest because we know that whatever we put into this work, we will get a return. When we invest our time, our energy, our prayer, and our money, we know that our community benefits tenfold. We don't take any money from the government. We don't want anyone telling us what vision we should have for our community. We, the network members, own this work. We vote on the problems to address. We go to the research meetings. We bring our friends and neighbors to the action. And we are the lifeblood that moves this work forward. Tonight, we are asking each member to invest in our continued work of justice together. We invite each network member to invest at least $200, because if each of us did that, we wouldn't need any outside funds. But I want to be clear, this isn't just about money. This is about investing in a shared vision of the promised land in Pinellas County.
Last year, our own members invested over $132,000. We did this in the middle of a pandemic. This is a true testament to our commitment and dedication to this work. This year, we want to tackle bigger problems and win more victories. So our goal is for our members to invest $154,000. As co-chairs, Rabbi and I know it's our job to lead by example. That's why this year I'm investing $1,000 and my check is right here. We are each investing $1,000.
Wait just a minute, Father Stefan. Hold everything.
What is it, Rabbi?
This is not a natural Mostly. The real reason is that in Jewish tradition, 18 holds a special significance. In the Hebrew alphabet, each letter also represents a number, and the word life, Chi, is 18. So that's why we have $36, it's double Chi, it's double life. And it is my hope that this extra $36 represents our shared desire to breathe renewed life into our work this year.
In just a moment, we're going to go into our caucuses. This will be a time for us to talk to your fellow congregation members about your investment and why this work is important to you. I encourage you to use this time really to think about what this ministry is worth to you. What do you get out of it? What vision do you have for our community? How would you like to see God move and work